Good morning, Rockland County Business
Good
Journal.
morning, Rockland County.
Yes, ma'am.
How is everybody today?
Well, we're just, reeling over the loss of one of our longest listeners, from the day the show started many years ago.
Well, I have a not such a funny story. I have a strange story about that. I'd never heard of Judy before, and the last time we were on air together a week ago, while we were on air, my Facebook Messenger popped up, and she sent me a message about what I was talking about. And I thought, who is this person? And then so I just didn't know, and I was so shocked a couple of days ago to learn of her death. Does anybody know what happened? Did she have like a heart attack or something?
We don't know for sure what happened. She may have had some kind of medical episode while she was driving. She ended up in a single car crash in Airmont on Thursday afternoon, late afternoon. But we don't know precisely what happened, what it was. We just don't know.
Yeah, well, it's very tragic. Did she leave behind a family?
She has 3 children and 5 grandchildren, yes.
Oh, that's sad. Well, it's very sad.
Yep.
Yeah.
A valuable contributor to the show. She will certainly be missed, very much so.
Okay. So I was going to talk today about a story that I'll be posting a little bit later, which is, you know how in Clarkstown, not that long ago, they rezoned the area in Nanuet behind the shops, around the main street, to turn it into a transit-oriented development, also known as a TOD.
Right.
This is a big trend in suburbia now, where there is a viable train station, and where there's a density of land, or even fallow land, or the potential to transform what is there. I would say that suburban communities are looking at those sections of their towns and rezoning so that they can add studio, 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom housing with retail below, and to cluster these developments around train stations, so that you have, it's an injection of economic activity. It's affordable housing. It's market rate housing, but it's housing for millennials and empty nesters. And I think they're good, sound concepts. They bring sidewalks back to suburbia. They bring ground floor retail. And generally speaking, because of the sizes of those retailing options, they're more mom and pop, they're more independent businesses, not big boxes. So that passed back in Clarkstown back in the summer. And now the same discussion is going on in Orangetown, specifically in Pearl River. And they rolled out their first presentation to a pretty packed room last week. And it's interesting. The main weakness in both the Clarkstown TOD and in a prospective rezoning of Pearl River is that the train the train service is practically non-existent on that line. And so everybody cites this as a chicken and egg situation, which is that New Jersey Transit won't up the frequency of the trains, I guess, until prospectively there's a reason to do so, and yet developers who are going to be looking at adding to buildings, or in the case of Clarkstown, creating developments outright, have to be asking the same question, which is, if we bring 500 housing units to these developments and there's no train, then what? And that was, I thought, of all the questions that were raised last week at the TOD in hearing in Orangetown, I thought, and then there were different people. There were some people who were very in favor of it. Some people were expressing concern about parking and what have you. But I thought that the most salient question is, well, what if you build this development We still don't have the train service here in Rockland County, and the same question really does exist for Clarkstown. So I think that these TODs are very sound economic drivers of commerce, and they definitely bring new blood and a new aspect to the economic scene. But I think we have a problem with the train. Actually, I recall the last time I was talking about this, a caller had called in on WRCR, and then that same gentleman called me later on in the day because apparently this has been his bugaboo for many years. I forget his name, but my bad.
Right, but it seems to make sense. At what point do you say, well, we have to wait for New Jersey Transit to improve our service, but then New Jersey Transit is going to go up and say, why should we improve our service if you don't have people moving in? You don't have housing, and it seems to be running as well as we can be for the moment. If that's, I get why one wouldn't want to move without the other, but at some point somebody's got to try and do something, no?
No, I know. So what somebody said at the Pearl River hearing was, okay, so the allowable maximum of housing in this new Pearl River TOD would be 400 units, up from the maximum allowable now in the zone, which is 150. So that's adding 350, and in Clarkstown the zoning allows for an additional 500, but as you may or may not remember, they had started out with 750 and they scaled back because of the DOT, and eventually they'll go back to that probably that threshold.
Tina, you want to take a call from a listener about this?
Oh, sure.
Are you there, Tina?
Oh, it sounded like it hung up on
She's gone. Mary, you're there, right? Mary? Ooh, the whole thing blinked out on me. Mary? Tina?
I'm on the line. I'm here.
All right, I finally got Mary. All right, go ahead. If Mary wants to talk to you, Tina, go ahead.
Hey, good morning, Mary.
Good morning, Tina. My niece takes the train every day, and I told her that somebody reported at that meeting that night at Orangetown that the train service is awful here because we only have one track. But I live within vision of the railroad track and hearing of it. And the train goes up and down here all day long, even though we have one track. Why are people saying we don't have good train service? I don't get that.
Maybe it doesn't stop for the commuters?
It stops all the time. In the morning, it comes through every 15 minutes, starting at like 5:45.
Well, I think what they might be talking about is also that the connections that the train requires.
Right, it's not a one-stop. It's not directly into Manhattan. You got to go to Hoboken or Secaucus
What they call a one-seat train.
We're on this side of the river, so what do you expect?
To be fair, I used to a long time ago. I used to take that train out of Nanuet. I used to live in Nanuet. I drive 5 minutes to get to the train station. I park in Nanuet. I took the train into Hoboken, the path into Lower Manhattan. I used to do that. It wasn't the most ideal, but I took the same train every single day. As long as you're able to, if you don't have to be that flexible, it works for me. Now, New Jersey Transit's also gotten a lot of criticism lately because they've been short of engineers and they've cut back on rides, and sometimes trains go back and forth and they don't stop because they can't pick people up for whatever reason. They've gotten a lot of criticism lately, but it's not as if like the situation you have in Suffern or in Ramsey and Mahwah, where there's two tracks and the trains are constant all day. It's not just morning pick up and return home in the evenings. It's much less.
Right. It's a challenge, and it's a challenge if you're a town planner, or an administration that's recommending the sort of zoning change that's going to bring a great density of housing to an area that's going to be reliant on the whole point of transit-oriented development, the very name of the zoning change.
Hello. Something's wrong here. Tina? All right, Mary hung up, and Tina, I don't think this one I can't take credit for because.
Try line 3. Can you move over to line 3? There's somebody there.
Yeah, that shouldn't be doing this. Well, the whole system went down. I have to reset it. Tina, give us a call back if you can, if you're listening to me, because just somebody was on the line. Every time I try to mesh the lines, it would act up. which occasionally does happen. So after 10 o'clock, I'll redo the whole system. But in the meantime, hi, you back, Tina?
I am back.
All right, I get a little trouble with this phone, so I won't put any more calls on to you, but go ahead.
Okay, no, I just thought, I hope I didn't offend anybody.
No, it's just the system sometimes has to be rebooted, I guess is the word now.
I'm just joking. No. So, I mean, look. In theory, I mean, I think that TODs are good things, and I think that, if they can bring the kind of, I mean, one of the interesting things about the proposal for Pearl River, right, is that with all the retail that's proposed, the limited size of an individual business, except for public uses, is a maximum of 5,000 square feet. So this is specifically intended to keep out the bigger box and the large retailers out of the TOD. I think that's exactly what Clarkstown needs. We need the kind of, and I've been talking about this for months, we need the kind of retail that stimulates the mom and pop, the independent seller, creative businesses, something that takes us out of that, blur of big box retail. And these TODs, I mean, that's where they can really shine, as well as the stimulus for millennial housing and empty nester housing, with the taxes being what they are. We just have a train problem, so this is going to require cooperation from higher powers.
Is this in the publication as of now, or you said you're going to post it later?
I'm going to be posting this piece today.
Okay.
So anybody can go to www.rcbizjournal.com and check it out. You can also look at the backstories that I wrote on the Clarkstown TOD to educate yourself a little bit more on the subject.
Rockland County, that's if you want to get it on your whatever device, rcbiz, B-I-Z, journal.com. All right, Tina, thank you.
Okay, talk to you next week.